Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for taking your time to tune in on this important conversation around mental health. Over the past year, with COVID-19 affecting our lives in multiple ways, we are feeling the impact of the pandemic on our mental health. A recent poll found that at least 50% of Canadians reported that the pandemic has negatively affected their mental health. Not to mention 1 out of every 5 Canadians suffer from mental health issues and are unsure where and how to receive the help that they need. Now more than ever, mental health matters and every action that we do counts. This is why I'd like to welcome and thank Deborah Hines-Nunziata for joining in on the conversation today around this very important topic of mental health. Not only is Deborah my amazing mother for over the past 26 years, but she has also been a registered psychologist for more than 30 years. She has worked with a variety of individuals in helping them manage their mental health challenges or disorders. Deb has said that this last year has by far been the biggest increase in mental health disorders that she has seen in her career. So thank you so much, Deb, for joining us today, and I really do look forward to hearing what you have to share around this important topic.
Thank you, Marie, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, of course. Glad to have you here. I'm sure everyone else will be happy too. And I just want to start off with the first question is, what is the difference between experiencing mental health challenges compared to experiencing a mental health disorder? I really believe that it's a good way to start off the conversation and learning the correct terminology around mental health, as I've seen that it can be misused quite a bit over social media, and even around me I've noticed that it can be misused. So let's have Deb here kind of clarify the difference between challenges and disorder.
Marie, that is an excellent question to begin with, because you're right, there's a lot of confusion, even around the term mental health. And what we need to understand is that we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. And I want you to think about mental health as being on a continuum. And at the bottom of the continuum is no mental distress. And that doesn't happen a lot. That might be happening when you're having a really good night's sleep or you're laying on a beach relaxing somewhere. Next on the continuum is what we would call mental distress. And we have mental stress every day in varying degrees, from losing your keys to having an argument with your child or your spouse, being late for work, getting stuck in traffic. All of those things cause us to have some kinds of mental distress. And then we have what we would refer to as a mental health problem. And problems are more chronic or more significant mental distress. So for example, losing your job, moving, for many people, public speaking, but also the big things in life, such as losing somebody that you love. And when we have mental distress and when we have mental health problems, we have emotions, and emotions are part of life. But the thing that we tend to do now is we pathologize our emotions.
Right.
So when we're feeling sad, we say we're depressed. And when we're feeling worried, we might say that we have anxiety. And when our heart starts to rush and we feel that, we are losing our breath, we say we're having a panic attack. So we use these kinds of terms very loosely, when in fact we are just experiencing the normal range of human emotions. Up at the top of the pyramid is what we would call a mental disorder. And mental disorders are problems of the circuitry of your brain. And they're often largely genetic. And of course, our environment impacts our mental disorders. They can make them worse. They can have us express it in the first place. But we really need to know that a mental disorder is a clinical disorder. There's specific characteristics that go around with that diagnosis, and that it has a significant impact on our ability to function in our daily lives.
Right. Thank you so much. That's super helpful, and I hope it helps all of you just to be a little bit more aware next time you do use any terminology around mental health. I want to move into the second question, and I think this probably speaks to all of us, is what are some ways that we can support loved ones in our lives right now? So whether that's your friends, family, or anyone that you work with, who are experiencing mental health challenges or disorder.
Yeah. So again, Marie, you talked about the impact right now that the pandemic has had on people. So we need to really be thinking about how we can support one another. And I think once you know somebody well, whether it's a friend or a family member, you know what their baseline behaviors are like, what they enjoy doing. And when you start to see changes in their normal functioning, such as they're losing interest in activities. When you're talking to them, they might be more negative or hopeless in the way that they're looking at lives, at life in general. Maybe you're concerned because they're drinking more or not getting out of bed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really thinking about, are there some red flags there that make me worried about this loved one or this family member or friend? And then just be open and asking them,
Mm-hmm.
how are you doing? I've noticed I haven't heard from you for a long time. Seems like you're a little bit sad right now. Are you doing some things that help you feel better during the day?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to ask the question, how is your mental health?
Mm-hmm.
And when you are concerned, to go the next step forward and saying, and what do we need to do about it? How can I help you feel better? Is there something we can do together? Is there some barriers I can remove to help you manage your mental health better? Do we need to be connecting you to a professional?
Right, and yeah, those are really important strategies to know, and it sounds like the biggest thing that we can all do is just at least take that step, reach out to anyone that you think may be experiencing or going through a mental health challenge or disorder, and just letting them know that you are there for them.
Right.
They
You
have
care
your
about
support.
them. That's right, exactly.
All right, we're gonna move on to question 3, and this is for anyone that is feeling hopeless or alone. I really do think that, feeling alone right now is probably a common feeling among most of us since we've had very limited social connection during this time. And if you can just share any strategies that you could give people that are feeling hopeless or alone.
Yeah. So unfortunately, with this pandemic, social isolation has become the reality for many of us. And we've got some rules that we need to follow to be able to respect our own physical health.
Mm-hmm.
But that has taken a toll on our mental health. And so we've been creative in using social media and having Zoom meetings and more FaceTime and phone calls, which is great. But the online connection isn't enough.
Right.
We are social creatures by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's appropriate and you're able to go out and have that walk up and down your street, say hello to your neighbor, go to the grocery store, chat with the clerk, ask your friend one-on-one if they're part of your circle or your cohort to come and have a walk with you.
Mm-hmm.
When you can have that live face-to-face conversation, there's an energy there that I think is healthier for us.
Oh, 100%. I definitely agree with that. And even myself, I'm noticing that, like Deb has said, just taking that time to make those small things important. So whether you're going out, like for myself, I try to make it a daily trip. Not only do I love caffeine and coffee, but just to get outside of my house and have that little conversation with the barista, I really find that it actually does make a huge difference in my day. So whether it's just making a small trip to get a coffee or go to the grocery store, or even just like Deb mentioned, a walk with your friend can be super helpful. All right, this conversation is already coming to an end pretty soon, but I do want to finish off with some important tips that you may have to share with us. For this new year and managing our mental health or ways we can take care of ourselves mentally for 2021.
Yeah. So I like to think of mental health in terms of brain health.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of things that we can do to help our brains function better so that we're able to manage our emotions and be able to choose those kind of healthy behaviors. So for example, the big 3 are getting enough sleep and exercise and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people joke that we have let some of those things go, but it's time to get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we want to be functioning at our best, we need to be making sure that we're well rested.
Right.
We make sure that we're bringing in those kind of nutrients that make us feel better, and that we're getting that 120 to 150 minutes a week of physical activity. In addition, we need to be mindful of how much screen time we're on every day. We need to be thinking about our use of tobacco and caffeine, I'm sorry, Marie, alcohol, and remember, things in moderation in general are going to be much better for our brain and then in terms our mental health.
So you're saying it's okay if we enjoy a glass of wine every now and then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
That's good to know. Or a cup of coffee.
That's right.
Whatever you prefer. And again, that's super helpful. And I think right now, something that many of us have experienced is just the loss of our routine. And with that is just daily habits we were doing before the pandemic. So I think it's just building a new structure, small new habits that keep you accountable every day to keep you doing those things such as eating well, moving your body, staying connected with people.
And when you talk about habits, one important thing I forgot to mention is that idea of a schedule.
Mm.
Because the best way to follow good habits is to actually write them down and have them in a schedule. And especially, it's just human nature when we're feeling a little sad or that we have lack of energy, that we want to just maybe be staying in bed more often. So we need to schedule in that phone call to grandma. We need to schedule in that walk down to the coffee shop. And because the problem is that we often listen too much to our thinking and our feeling. And yes, those are important for us to tune into, but sometimes we think we're too tired to do things that are good for us, or we're too busy to do those things that we really need. And so if we have them in a schedule, we're much more likely to do the things that are better for our mental health. And I think when Nike was smart when they came up with that slogan of just do it, because sometimes that's what we need to do. Even if you don't feel like it or you don't think you should, just do it if you've got it in your schedule.
Right. And I just want to end on that saying, you know, how Deb is saying it can be really helpful to make a list. Try not to overwhelm yourself with that list, you know, maybe 1 or 2 things a day. But also don't forget, I actually had a friend who made time, she said on her list, she would actually put different areas for just things that were fun or trying new things on that list, things that are good for her, whether it was meditation for 3 minutes out of her day or going for a walk or just something she enjoys, like getting the coffee. That's something I would never forget about. But if it's something you find that you do need a little thing to push you, don't forget to take that time for yourself. It's really important for your mind and body, and even more important than the work and everything that you do to keep you going and moving forward. So I just want to end off the conversation and thanking Deb for joining me today in this really important conversation in a topic that I believe that every one of us experiences at some point in our life.
Thank you, Marie. And I hope in doing so that we're modeling the importance of talking as family and talking with everyone else about mental health and reducing the stigma around it. Remember, we all have mental health.
Yes, of course. And I just want to say, in case you don't know already, today is Bell Let's Talk, but let's remember that today isn't the only day that we should be talking about mental health. This is something we should be talking and having a conversation about every single day. And as Deb just said, to reduce that stigma and increase awareness around it, it's super important to keep the conversation going. Just a reminder too, if you do want to help with the mental health initiative across Canada with Bell Let's Talk, there are many ways you can do that. One of the easiest ways you can do it is through social media, and that's just by hashtagging Bell Let's Talk or Bell Cause on any social media platform. And I guarantee most of you are already going to be on some sort of social media platform today, so don't forget to hashtag those, or you can watch the mental health video by Bell Let's Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. I really truly believe that we can all work together to make tomorrow a brighter future. I want to thank you all so much for coming, and hopefully this really helped you out. I know it helped me.
Thank you very much, Marie.